What's going on? Got the review of the Beyerdynamic Custom 1 Pro. Got off to a kind of rocky start with these guys. I received them a few weeks ago and listened to them for about 45 minutes after playing with the bass ports and my amp. Literally boxed them back up, printed out the shipping label, and took them downstairs. I was that unimpressed and remorseful that I spent that money on them. However, I woke up the next morning and I decided I hadn't really given them ample burn-in time. I hadn't researched much on the burn-in time needed for these, but I have headphones that have needed burn-in, so I decided to give it a shot. And I mean, just with 1 or 2 hours more, it was already getting better. And I literally listened to them the whole day, using the amp and not using the amp, and decided it was getting better and better and better to the point where I was starting to enjoy them. Anyway, I decided to keep them and take them through their paces. So I've got some decent feedback on them. The design is beautiful. They did such a great job. The build quality feels extremely sturdy. That was the first thing I noticed. You can watch my unboxing video on my channel. I've already done one of those. My first impressions of it, and kind of compare to what I think of it now. But I pulled it out of the box, and the first thing I noticed was the clamping pressure. That is pretty extreme. It just feels so solid. I don't know if that's the tension of the headband or what, but very sturdy metal used on the headband. I can't see these things breaking, for any reason. I mean, even if you drop it, I can't see them breaking. What do they call these things? Wing something. But these would be more likely to break before the metal would. And this is metal plates on here. This is a plastic housing though, so there's likely, but it's a hard plastic. I mean, it's kind of like a polymer almost, where it's just a really hard, not very destructible plastic. So they're rugged. You got the removable headband. It's Velcro. You can take that off, and Beyerdynamic, from my understanding, is going to have more colors in the future. I haven't seen any yet. They have a few accessories on their website for these guys. You know, when it comes to the plate rings and the plates themselves, and the headbands of different colors. You're really going to be able to tweak these things to your own custom liking. So that'll be exciting when they start coming out with that stuff and it becomes mainstream. I'm looking forward to it. Yep, you got your bass ports right here. You have 4 settings, 1 being the lowest, 4 being the most bassy. You got the audio jack, which we all love, removable cable. Very high quality cable. It is, pretty thick. I haven't had one issue with this cable. Very low, what do they call it, microphonics, just static distortion when it hits your clothing. And yeah, well, I think that's about it for design. Now, comfort wise, I think I already delved into this a little bit. The clamping force is a lot on these guys. It is, I mean, you can see that. I've actually hurt myself. I was putting these on and they slipped off, and one of these sides hit me in the face, and it kind of hurt. I mean, it has some power. But I will say, these are one of the most comfortable headphones that I've ever worn. Beyer does a great job at making good circumaural design. Your ear will go completely inside here. I mean, I have above average size ears, so they're not the smallest ears. But this pleather is very soft. I have at no point wearing these, and I've worn them for hours on end. I haven't been fatigued at all. So it's been just a great experience, and I'm really glad I kept them. It's anyway. So that's what happens is your whole ear goes inside here, and these pads rest completely on your head, on your skull. So and a little below, it actually kind of comes onto your neck, but creates a great seal. You know, I would be scared to use velour pads on these. I know a lot of people are switching to velours, but I think it would impact the sound quite a bit because these pads in particular create a great seal. I've used some DT 770s, and the pads are really comfy, but I think they affect the seal quite a bit. Yep, so that's what I was getting at, is the pads are so comfortable that this pressure, this high pressure that I'm talking about, doesn't get to you. I mean, you would think that just by holding this thing and doing that, like, oh man, that's a headache waiting to happen. Well, it's not. It's very nice. And the headband, for a removable headband, this thing's really comfy. I'd be tempted to even use it on other headphones if I could fit it on there. I've never felt it once you get it sized correctly, because really these are kind of like the M100s in the aspect where the ear cups and the tension from the headphones will keep it on your head. You won't need it won't need to be suspended by the headband, so it's kind of convenient that way. I prefer headphones like that because I can't stand it when they're digging into the top of my head. I have an Astro A50 gaming headset, this guy, and he's like that. It's this thing always digging into my head because this clamping force, you can see how flimsy it is. It's non-existent. But these are a great headset, by the way. Don't discount that. I'll do a review on those later. But yeah, so comfort-wise, wonderful. One of the most comfortable I've ever worn, hands down. Beautiful design with comfort in mind. Sound quality. These, like I said, we got off to a rocky start. There was quite a bit of distortion at every level. I mean, it was like, holy cow, do I have a defective set? That's how I honestly felt. So I decided, once I started putting them through the paces, I decided to take my amp off, and I was like, I'm just going to burn these in and just start listening to them nonstop to see if I can develop a better opinion. And I actually like them better originally without my E11, this guy. It provided a cleaner sound. I felt like the E11 was forcing the distortion, and so I decided to just try it without them, and it works great. These are 16 ohm drivers. I just had to stop and look that up. I didn't want to tell you the wrong thing. I was going to say there were 18, but I'm glad I looked. 16 ohms. I mean, they're really easy to drive by your iPhone or portable media player. I really enjoyed the sound originally, and so really for me the bass ports 1 and 2 were where I was getting the most distortion, and it was mainly on bassy songs where it would sound like it was almost rattling. That's why I thought there was something wrong with them, because it was like a tin can rattle when it was like trying to force the bass through, but it wasn't really getting there. I don't really know the particulars behind it. Anyway, that has since gone by the wayside. I do believe it was a burn-in issue. These things really need burn-in. That's the bottom line. So yeah, the 1 and 2, the 1, not really my cup of tea. It's I don't even think it'd be an audiophile's cup of tea, because it's just these aren't that bright to begin with. So it's I mean, without the bass, you really don't have a whole lot with this headphone. That's kind of the feature of it. The 2, however, on a lot of songs, I found to be fun and acceptable. It lets through a decent amount of bass, and definitely 3. That's where I've been listening the most on, and I mean, 3 is definitely a bass head level. Anybody that it considers himself an audiophile probably would not ever go to 3 or 4. 4 is I mean, it's just playing around. It's a very the bass range is not very dynamic. It's a very wumpy bass, kind of reminiscent of the Beats, but done way better. I mean, for $200, I'd put these up against the Beats any day. But yeah, three is the sweet spot. I think it's popular opinion would probably agree, for you bass guys out there. And yeah, so the highs are it's interesting because with other Beyer phones that they're known for their kind of shrill highs at times, and these carry that same characteristic. Even though they're a lot different headset than the GT series, it's there's certain points in a song where you learn with these that you kind of got to brace yourself. Like when there's high female vocals coming up, or maybe a really loud forward guitar solo or something that's coming up, it gets to you. You'll be at a nice, comfortable listening level where everything's great, and then all of a sudden it's like, yay, I don't know if I can handle that. Kind of a fatigue feeling. But that's very few and far in between. I was listening to them all night last night just to get a final opinion before I did this review, and I witnessed that about maybe 3 times out of 3.5 hours or so of listening, so it doesn't happen very often. The mids are quite a bit recessed in a few frequency areas. It's not the entire range. It's not recessed like the M100s, or actually I don't know if the M100s are recessed. That might just be the low end coming into the mids, but the M50s, they're not that bad though. But yeah, the vocals, like male vocals, if it's a rock track, the vocals are going to be pretty far in the background. If you like those vocals forward, it's you might want to have a listen at these. A burnt-in pair, mind you. I can't stress that enough. That do not make your decisions on these headphones by 1 hour of listening, because that would be a mistake. I'm really glad I listened to more than 1 hour. But yeah, the vocals sound like they're a little background, and when you first get them, it's gonna sound like you're in a hallway or a tinny tunnel. It's not the greatest sound for vocals, but they get better. They still kind of stay in the background as it gets burnt in, but they get better. Now, while we're on the topic of the highs, you can address that with an amp. I've been using these purely purely unamped because I like the sound so much from them. But the other day I just tried my FiO E11 again, and what I did, I always listen on 0 EQ. I don't like anything else on here. It just gets dirty. And I switched it from low gain to high gain. That does a phenomenal job at bringing those mids a little more forward, the vocals that I was talking about, and really makes it shine. Really helps out the entire soundstage. I was thoroughly impressed, and I was kind of sad I hadn't done that sooner. So definitely tweak the EQ on whatever amp you're using and try these out with different settings, because it made a huge difference on that cheap little amp. So yeah, I made it very, very listenable, and now I don't want to listen to it without that amp. And the lows are superb. If you're into the lows, you like that deep feeling, it's gonna give you a good feeling. It's a great bass headphone. I would definitely put this in the bass head category, because you can put it on 1 and 2 and say you're not a bass head, but the bottom line, there are better headphones if you're not a bass head for this price range. That's the bottom line. It's nice to be able to switch back and forth with these bass ports to suit your music, but if you're just purely looking for sound quality, it's not the greatest headphone. There's a lot better for the $200 category. I do believe you're paying a premium for convenience of having to be able to switch the bass, and then also the customization part of it. I think that's really going to catch on, especially with the younger generation. I really don't have aspirations to. I just think it's cool. Maybe the plates at some point. But I really enjoy the stealth black nature of it all. It looks classy to me. And I should say classic. I like the older designs like this, with the exception of the v-moda M100s. There's something about those that I just can't get enough of. But yep, so the lows, fantastic. I mean, it gets down there. Like I said earlier, the bass is of the Wampy variety. It's not very textured bass, I should say. It's not very detailed bass. But it's there. I mean, it's there when you need it. This headphone makes every category of music sound wonderful. It's a very forgiving headphone, which is a bad thing to a lot of people, but I view it as a good thing, because really I don't view myself as an audiophile. I am a pleasure listener, and I just like getting nice quality audio. I like my bass, but not in your ear, blowing your eardrums kind of bass. I can't stand the really hard sub bass. Tight and controlled, and as long as it's there, I'm happy. And yeah, I think that's it for sound quality. I'll do a little fit test so you guys can see what it looks like on the head. Well, here, I'll plug this in. So this cable is notched. Where'd it go? Yeah, so this end it's got a little there we go. I think you can see that notch. So that guy needs to line up, and it actually pops in right here. So it's got a notch in there. You line the notch up, pretty cut and dry. Boom, in. I like that. Now I don't think it's designed so you can't use your own cable. It does lock in there, but I believe the hole is recessed, or the hole is wide enough that you could probably get your own in there, if you can see that. Otherwise, you could if you really wanted to modify it, you could take a Dremel tool and just do away with that plastic notch in there. That'd be pretty easy too. Alright, here's what they look like when you put them on. Straight on. The left side, cable's on the left. Got the right side. And that's it. Good looking set. Yeah, you can check out my unboxing on my channel. And that's it. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below, and I will answer them as soon as I can. Thanks for watching.